Iran's attack on 2 Iraqi bases that house American troops following the killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani are likely on the minds of many voters. There were small protests in Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus this past weekend. Statehouse correspondent Jo Ingles talked to some who joined one of them.
No blood for oil. No blood.
About 100 protesters took to the streets in a Columbus neighborhood last weekend to protest the assassination.
It wasn't even done in a military sense, a strategic sense. It was done in a political assassination. And that's a very dangerous road we're going down.
Columbus resident Afkam Davis is from Iran and fears for her family there after President Trump ordered the assassination in an airstrike without first getting congressional authorization.
I mean, why do this? It doesn't even have any reason for having done that. They've made up a story as always they do.
Trump says the assassination thwarted a planned terrorist action against the U.S., and he says the decision to do this was based on solid intelligence, though there are questions about that justification. And he and supporters say it wasn't politics or distraction from impeachment, as many Democrats have said. A veteran Ohio journalist who has covered presidential primaries and similar situations says it's hard to tell how this conflict could affect the 2020 presidential election.
It's hard to say because in one sense there's an American tradition that we don't change horses in midstream, although Lincoln came close to losing Ohio in 1864. At the same time, though, there is sometimes a kind of fatigue among Americans about what look like endless conflicts that don't seem to come to any kind of, hate to use the word, but closure. For example, in 2004, George W. Bush carried Ohio by a pretty narrow margin, about 125 to 130,000 votes. In 2000, he carried it quite handily. And there's some belief that was probably because of people thinking that the Iraq War would not have gone the way that people had hoped it would go, in terms of a quick conclusion.
Tom Suddes says the condition of the conflict this fall could certainly play into the minds of Ohioans. He says history shows even popular presidents can lose in Ohio if the electorate finds a good reason to vote for someone else.
In 1944, Ohio did not vote for Franklin Roosevelt, and he was in the middle of, just after the Normandy invasion. They voted against him. Voted for Tom Dewey and Senator Bricker, who was formerly had been our governor.
Ohio Republicans will have just one choice for the March 17th primary. Donald Trump has been certified as the only GOP presidential candidate. Bill Weld had filed petitions, but they didn't qualify. 11 candidates have been certified for the Democratic primary, with Andrew Yang running as a write-in. The Secretary of State's office says he and John Delaney had problems with their petitions. Marianne Williamson didn't file paperwork in Ohio. By March, things may have dramatically changed internationally, but the protesters say they'll keep coming back to send their message. Jo Ingles, Statehouse News Bureau.